Hi, I'm Bill from CJ Pony Parts. We have Lucy, our 65 Mustang convertible, back here in the studio today. Now, if you remember when we introduced this car to you a little while back, our goal with Lucy was to build a nice, fun convertible driver. Now, in my opinion, for a quality driver to really be enjoyable, you have to have a good stereo. Now, the stereo in this car is an older style vintage radio that simply is not cutting with modern technology, but thanks to RetroSound and Long Beach, we have all the modern amenities in our 65 Mustang convertible. Now, we're found RetroSound radios here because of the modular capabilities. It gives you all kinds of options. Now, the Long Beach 4 shown here is available with a bunch of different faces, different knobs, different finishes. It's also available for different years as far as overall fitment goes. Now, if you notice, the display and the radio are actually two separate pieces right now. Now, we're going to actually assemble them later. One nice thing with the Long Beach, though, is you don't have to mount the body in the dash. You can actually mount this remotely, get an extension cable available here at CJ's, and have the display and the radio mounted separately. Now, as far as radio features go, this thing is absolutely loaded up. It's designed to work with your iPod or iPhone. It features Bluetooth capability. It is SiriusXM ready. It's fully customizable display. You've got two USB inputs, two auxiliary inputs, and then front, rear, and subwoofer outputs, along with a built-in 25x4 amplifier. Again, all the features you would find in a modern radio. For this installation, we had a 3/8 ratchet, half-inch socket, Phillips head screwdriver, and basic wiring tools. Now, the first step of the installation is under the hood. We're going to disconnect the battery. Now, I'm going to run you through the process of how to install the radio. RK is going to handle the actual wrenching for me. We're going to start by removing our console. I'm not going to say this is necessary because it actually isn't. You can work around the glove box and behind it, but you'll never be able to see what we're doing. Plus, it makes it a lot easier. Now, don't worry if you're worried about how to restore the console. We're actually going to do a future video on how to remove it, rebuild it, and put it back in the car. So we're just going to get it out of the way for now and begin our radio installation. All right, now we're going to remove the ashtray and then the bracket above it to give us a little more access to the radio. Now, our car already has an aftermarket radio in it. It's an older style radio, but it does work, so we know that the wires and stuff going to it should be okay. What we're going to do now, though, is start fishing the wires through the back of the car here, underneath the dash, and make sure the wiring colors are good, then figure out the wires we need to hook up our new RetroSound radio. This is pretty much typical what you're going to find if an aftermarket radio has been installed. There's usually be a big pile of wires stuffed up underneath the dash somewhere. Basically, what you want to do now is look at the colors so we can figure out the wires we're going to need for our new install. Something else I want to mention too, don't assume the previous radio was installed correctly. As you can see by the wire nuts, whoever installed this obviously really didn't know what they were doing and didn't do the correct connections. Make sure the colors are correct, make sure everything works properly before installing the new radio. All right, with the wires disconnected, now we can remove the radio. And to do this, basically you're going to remove the knobs from the front, and then in theory it's going to be bolted on. You also want to check the back to make sure there may be a back strap holding up to support it. In our case, we can tell our radio is fairly loose. We know there's no back strap. So we're just going to remove the nuts from the front and then remove the radio through the back of the dash. Now, since we're going to mount the body of the radio with the faceplate, the first thing to do is connect the two of them together. You're going to plug it in and use the supplied hardware to screw it on the sides to keep it in place. Now, the radio is obviously going to have a digital display, but if you really want to keep the vintage look when the radio is off, RetroSound provides these screen protectors that look like an old school analog radio you can put over the screen. That'll give it more of a vintage look when it's not turned on. Now, with the faceplate mounter, we're going to install the brackets for the Infinimount. These are going to bolt to the side of the radio, and then the actual stalks for the controls will go through the front, allowing us infinite adjustment to get it centered in the dash properly. All right, now you can assemble the control stalks and put them on the infinite mount. What you want to do is put a nut and washer on it and slide it through the opening, and then do the same on the front. Then repeat the process on the other side and plug them into the sides of the radio. Now, finally, with the system, you will have to make some adjustments to get it to line up properly. What we found is you can either line it up with the old radio you removed, or use the faceplate that's included by RetroSound. Use that to line up the stalks and brackets to get it straight before it goes in the dash. Now keep in mind when adjusting the control stalks, you get them in the right location. You can also modify the depth on how far the stalk actually fits out of the dash. That's more of a personal preference, but make sure they stick out far enough for the knobs to fit. We found by leaving a little gap around 1/4 inch behind the plate, it's pretty much perfect for your 64 through 66 Mustang. Now while these radios are nice and lightweight, the nuts going through the dash are not recommended to be the only thing supporting the radio. It includes a nut and a back strap to install, which provides additional support and make the radio much more firm when it's mounted. Now you can reinstall the faceplate once everything is set up and the radio is ready to go in the car. What we're going to do now is actually do all the wiring connections inside the car. What's nice is the harnesses disconnect, so we can connect to our speaker wires and connect the power harness, then put the radio in and simply plug it in. Now a little trick here, when you're hooking up your speaker wires, if you're not sure which speaker goes to where, grab a small battery. Don't use a drill battery, but grab like a 9-volt or a small D or C cell battery, touch the terminals together and the speaker will pop. That'll tell you which speaker the wire goes to. All right, with the harness all wired up, now we're going to install the harness on the back of the radio itself. We're going to put the radio up into place and mount it just with the dash bolts for now. Then we'll plug everything in and work on the back strap. Just be careful when you fish the stereo up. This will obviously be a lot easier than the one we took out. Just want to make sure you don't grab any wires or get stuck on anything. And then mount and install a washer on each side and then 2 more nuts. All right, the radio mounted, now we're going to plug it in. And once you plug everything in, this is a good time to reconnect your battery. Turn the radio on, just make sure it works before we move further with hiding the wires and finishing the installation. Now we're working on seeing where everything's going to fit, getting some of the wires up tucked out of the way, and then mounting the back strap. All right, so with the radio mounted now and all the wires connected, the last step in the radio installation is to install the knobs. All right, now you're going to reinstall any dash components you removed, reconnect your battery, and your installation is finished. All right, so with the radio installed, I'm going to run you through some of the basics of how to operate. Now, to turn the radio on, simply press this button on. You get the RetroSound logo will pop up on the screen, and it'll return to the last thing you listened to, which in our case was the radio. Now we have Bluetooth connected because I have my phone actually on Bluetooth. Now if you want to change sources, that'll give us satellite radio, auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2, and then it'll go to Bluetooth. Then Bluetooth will automatically start playing, and it's going to show you the name of the album, the name of the artist, and the name of the song as well. Now you notice the colors are constantly changing. You can pick a color and stay with it, or you can flick through the colors or just have it go like this where it's constantly changing, which I think gives it a nice custom look. Now if you want to change the sound, you hit this here, and you have some presets. You can turn off the processor. You can go pop, rock, classic, or off. Then when you flick through it here, you get your bass, mid-range, treble, and your balance, your fader, extra bass if you want that turned on. This is where your subwoofer control would be. You can turn the sub on if you have one hooked up and have adjustment of it there. And if you leave it go, it'll go back to the normal setting in a minute. Now, I should mention the USB sources. It does have two USBs as we showed you earlier. The USBs will only work if something's plugged in. So once you plug something in the USB plugs, you'll get that as an option when you're going through sources. Then you have over here, you go through next track, previous track, replay, one, all, you get different features over there. When you're connected to your phone or using your iPod, you can actually go in here too. You can click to the left, and it'll bring up the different playlists you have saved there, so you actually can scroll through those. Again, this is work on Bluetooth or USB, and pick whatever songs you want to listen to. We'll flip back to radio. When you get a radio station you like to, simply hold this down, and then I'll make it a preset. You got FM1 and FM2, so you're going to have 12 presets there, and then more AM presets as well. When you're all finished, either shut the car off or hold this down to turn it off. The RetroSound Long Beach Radio was the perfect upgrade for our 65 Mustang convertible. It gives us all the modern amenities we're looking for in a radio. Bluetooth, USB, cell phone, everything works through this radio. The best part about it though, we don't have to cut the dash, and it keeps a very stock look, which we like. It's got plenty of upgrades available as well, so we're going to add amplifiers and speakers probably in the future, make this car sound a heck of a lot better. As far as the installation goes, it's pretty straightforward. Figure about an hour or two and you'll be back on the road in no time.